Welcome to Traveling Adventures, your quest for love. This show is for singles searching for the perfect lifelong partner. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and let us go ahead and begin, shall we? Alright, so today's country is Chile. Good old South America. That's right. Let's go ahead and see what makes the Chileans so good, and also we'll get to know the toxic ones as well. All right, so first of all, we're going to be going over the good men and women of Chile. Let's see what makes them tick. What makes them so great for a potential partner? How do they do with relationships? All right, so as always on this show, we're going to go over the good first. Beginning with the Chilean women. She navigates protests and fine culture with the same sharp, critical eye. Her political literacy is exhausting and exhilarating. Okay. Her loyalty is a fierce claim. She absorbs your cause as her own and will argue it with more passion and better facts than you. Okay. Where's the romantic stuff? Already off to a pretty mediocre start, but it's okay. It's okay. She is a master of layered adaptability. You get a repertoire, a corporate executive, a countrywoman. Well, that's more like it. And a bohemian artist. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I don't think we've ever heard that before on this show. In intimacy, she combines volcanic passion. Well, there we go. That's very Latino, isn't it? With a dark poeticism. It's a deeply emotional release of longing. Well, there we go. So that to me is the first most powerful part. Usually it's the third or second. I'm kind of let down a little bit, but all right. So now we're going back upwards, right? That's a really strong positive. It's a must in any relationship. I mean, I like that word, volcanic passion. She uses a unique gallows humor to cope with earthquakes and daily absurdities, joking while picking up the rattled dishes. Right, so you might want to be cognizant of, aware of the earthquakes. That is something there. And I'm sure volcanic is also a play on the words for the country itself if you plan to go visit Chile. But it doesn't matter if you meet a Chilean in your neck of the woods. That's another possibility, of course. She is an aggressive curator. She plans the perfect hidden eatery, checks the tide, and has a backup for rain. Life is a series of executed discoveries. Okay, so, kind of sort of responsible woman we're talking about. Remember, keep in mind these are positive traits of Chilean women. It's not necessarily the same woman with all these qualities, okay? That's ideal in a perfect relationship to develop these qualities and much, much more. Her love is an obsessive standard of care. Your shirt is pressed to military standards. The meal has perfect balance. Details are her worship. All right, so attention to detail. That's always important. She can debate neoliberalism or poetry until 4 a.m. All right, that's similar to the Italians and the Greeks, I believe. I'm not a fan of debates. Discussions is more like it. Fueled by conviction, her mind is as formidable as her spirit. But you gotta have strong opinions, you have to be able to speak up. Don't be a weak loser, nobody wants that. She builds a home as a fortress of warmth, a sanctuary of specific smells, music, and unwavering routine against the chaos. Alright, so very cheerful. She views partnership as a shared project of advancement. She will work, network, and strategize alongside you with relentless drive. All right, so not the most powerful compared to many other countries, but it's okay. It's in the positive with the Chilean women. Let's go ahead and shift gears to the Chilean men. He masters extreme environments, which means unflappable calm in a crisis. He's always building the scaffold for the fix. All right, so they do like their land, okay? A lot of them are going to be adventurous if you're going to Chile in particular. His courtship blends old world chivalry and modern ambition. He'll open your door and detail his 5-year business plan. Okay, a little traditional. He solves problems through an intricate web of contacts. He is your key to a parallel system that bypasses obstacles. Similar to the Chilean women. Sexually intense. He views the bedroom as a place of both conquest and profound emotional surrender. Well, that's really nice to see on the men's side here, because usually that pertains to the women. Sexually intense. That's very positive. He is a proud, skilled host of the asado, the meat, the fire, the wine. It's a ritual performance of provision he takes seriously. All right, so barbecue maniac. Everybody likes that in a man. He carries a deep sadness, often expressed in music, making his joy feel earned and explosively vibrant. You get the full emotional spectrum. Well, okay, so he's emotional in a good way. You know, he's got a heart. He's not going to be one of these silent losers who doesn't express his emotions. You know, those are the dangerous ones, the abusive ones. He shows love by being your pragmatic shield. He ensures your car is serviced and your insurance is paid, building a cage of security with actions. Okay, so there's the responsibility. He is fiercely, complexly patriotic, critical of politics, yet devoted to the land slang and underdog identity. Loving him is loving a contradiction. Okay, that sounds pretty complex. I mean, patriotism has never been mentioned in this series. That is new, I have to say. We've heard about talking about politics and debates, but okay, sure. His loyalty to his childhood friend group is tribal and non-negotiable. Well, that could be problematic. I mean, it's good to have friends, but what do you mean non-negotiable, right? Gaining their approval means ratification into a lifelong brotherhood. Look, if you're falling in love with somebody, you got to ease off on the friendship, you know, the time spent with other friends, because you can't necessarily have them both on the high level. You got to put your friends on the back burner and your relationship in the front burner. Okay? That's just a given. It's really sad when people don't get that through their thick skulls. And I have to be that brutal with it, because who are you in a relationship with? Your friends from the past? You can't let go of that nostalgia. You can't evolve because your partner needs you. Hello. Otherwise, your relationship is going to start to fall apart because you're spending way too much time with your friends or family. I'm not saying abandon them. I'm just saying you need to prioritize your relationship first. You know, many idiots out there, they wonder, I don't know how my relationship fell apart. It's her fault. No, it's actually your fault, because she was lonely, she felt neglected, because you wanted to spend hours and hours with your friends and family, and you didn't want her to have anything to do with it. You'd be surprised how many idiots out there ruin a perfectly good relationship that has plenty of opportunity to grow and expand into a greater, deeper love. But they ruin it for these ridiculous reasons. I mean, you gotta mature. You gotta grow up. You can't be immature friends with your friends and your family's gonna be controlling your time and how you spend it. You know, you gotta be your own man. That also applies to women, by the way, that level of maturity. He loves with a possessive, proud intensity. The way he says, my woman, is an absolute, public claim that is both archaic and fiercely protective. All right, so not really strong for the men, the Chilean men as well. I'm rather not too impressed with these descriptions. Now, that's not to say that Chileans are boring, they're not as passionate. No, they're pretty passionate, okay? And they're pretty talented too, with the sports and with outdoor activities, with their knowledge. Once again, we're talking about the ideal Chilean candidate. Now, this is not to say, again, that there's I'm not reading the bad yet. We haven't even touched the bad. The toxic is coming up. So with that said, just keep that in mind, okay? This is kind of just a little lackluster here. You know, I was expecting more, but, you know, I have high expectations. So let's go ahead and proceed, shall we? Especially if you're new to the show. We're going to go over the bad men and women of Chile. All right, let's see what the toxic Chileans are all about. Hopefully it's not that bad, because they seem pretty chill. You know, they're just not extremely passionate from what I see. But keep in mind, this is what people say. It's not necessarily the fact for everyone. Which brings me to my disclaimer, which works both ways. What we just went over obviously doesn't apply to all Chilean men and women. And the following definitely, the toxic traits, that the toxic possibilities, the red flags, definitely doesn't apply to all men and women of Chile. Not all Chileans. You've heard the phrase, the saying, not all, right? That's how shortened they put it. It's supposed to be not all men and women, right? Well, it's true. I don't know how many people are living in denial by saying that's not true. That's obviously false to say it's not true. So without further ado, let's go over the actual possible red flags with Chilean men and women, starting with the women once again. Her loyalty is first to her mother and sisters. Okay, we've seen this before with Latino families. You are always auditioning for their approval. Her critical mind becomes relentless dissatisfaction. Nothing is ever good enough. That's actually interesting because Spanish mothers tend to do that. I can say from experience. Nothing was ever good enough. I had to get A plus scores for grades in school. I was happy with my gentleman C in tough classes, and then maybe a B plus or whatnot, but it's never enough. So yeah, I mean, Chilean women on the toxic side, it's a Latino thing with toxic Latinos, especially as mothers. So it can also apply to you as a partner as well. Nothing's ever good enough. It's extremely toxic. You guys got to be aware of that. It's not love. That's not love behind that huge curtain right there. There's so much more horrible things behind that curtain. She uses intimacy as a reward or punishment. Yes, we've seen this is very common with Latinos, okay? Calibrating it to the relationship's temperature. Right, we've seen this. She is acutely status conscious. Your neighborhood and your children's school are public report cards on her success. Okay. Well, that goes hand in hand with number 2, with never good enough. This is all being like a spectator, a toxic spectator, right? It's not living in the moment. In conflict, she weaponizes emotions, tears, scenes, ultimatums to establish a historical record of your wrongdoing. Yes, this is part of that toxicity, yes. She has a siege mentality rooted in class anxiety. Every day is a battle against a world she believes looks down on her. Well, that's something quite new. A siege mentality rooted in class anxiety. A battle against a world she believes looks down on her. Well, probably to do with her lack of confidence. Maybe she critiques herself, and, that goes with the expectations. Nothing is ever good enough. Yeah, that does go hand in hand with that one. After motherhood, you become the father, a functional role to fund her primary sacred project, the children. Well, you're supposed to, but it's not supposed to be a project. This is also a very toxic aspect of Latino families. When it's all about the children, it's not about, the love goes away, the flame of passion, the candle, it just se apaga, it goes out. And so you're left with, I sacrificed my life for the children. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. Newsflash. We understand. You chose to be a father, a mother. You can call it sacrifice, but how are your children going to feel about that? Like victims, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry for you choosing to have me, to bring me into the world. What are we talking about here? You see how crooked that is? But this does happen. It happened in my family. She pops out 4 children, and then it's like, okay, why did you have us? Because that's the way we wanted it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everybody's 3 years apart. Okay, but do you love us? Well, I love all of my children the same. It's like, okay. You can't just have children just to have children, people. I believe strongly that 1 or 2 is way more than enough. But, Latino families who have multiple children, they end up like, this is a possibility. It's all about the children. They obsess over the children. What about your marriage? The person you chose to marry before you had children. That can't just vanish. You have to be a great wife, in this case, and a great mother. If you can't do both, then just be a great wife and avoid having kids. Can't handle it? Can't handle the heat of the kitchen? Stay out of the kitchen, right? Because that's just a fact of life. The same thing applies to the husbands. Gotta be a great husband and a great father. There are no exceptions. You can't just be like, well, it's all about the kids and I'll just start neglecting my wife. Does that make sense? Then what's the purpose of getting married? Just to have kids? Just to go through the motions? I really have to, outline that part because this is a new part that we haven't seen in the show. This whole thing about focusing obsessively on the children. You're going to lose yourself in the process if it's in the toxic form. She communicates through sighs, indirectness, and expectation. You are expected to be a mind reader. Okay, this is very classic. She has a deep distrust of male competence. Okay, this is really toxic. Redoing your chores to reinforce her control. Oh my goodness. This is like deja vu. This happened with my mother, and she's a Spanish mother from Spain, right? This is very reminiscent of that because, if you do it wrong, then she has to do it herself. You can't do it right, don't do it at all. And this is a really bad way to bring up your children. But in this case, with relationships, it's extra bad. It's extra toxic. You guys are supposed to be grown adults here. Imagine if she's going to be like, wow, typical male incompetence. That's not love, people. That's abusive. That's verbal abuse. That's disrespect galore. Understand? All of these are pretty bad. These negative traits of toxic Chilean women here. They don't deserve to be called real women. They really don't. If they have these. Any of these, really. It's just toxic females. She holds silent, seething grudges for weeks, performing duties with a chilling, polite hostility. Okay, so all of these fit together like a perfect puzzle. They really do. Wow. That's just horrendous. Please stay away from toxic Latinas who fit these categories. This is a speechless moment right now. Very rare in this series. All right, shifting gears to the Chilean toxic males. His machismo, once again, very common in the Latinos, is cloaked in modernity. He'll call himself a feminist. That's interesting. But expects you to manage the entire domestic load. Well, it has nothing to do with feminism. But okay. I mean, machismo, machos, they don't ever make any sense. I mean, they have no intelligence, really. He frames infidelity as a stress-induced necessity for a high-achieving man, seeking therapy for stress but not remorse. You see what I mean? It doesn't even make sense. What do you mean framing infidelity as a stress-induced necessity? There's no excuse for infidelity, you idiot. He is pathologically addicted to his friend group. They get his authenticity, you get to manage his domestic life. Okay, so wow. Not really responsible, are we? His pride is brittle. Any failure triggers a shame spiral, often masked by alcohol. Well, that's always a common one, right? Or reckless spending. Look, anybody running to alcohol is a loser. Okay, 100%. No, I don't have mercy for such idiots. I mean, look at you. You're choosing to run to a bottle of poison, and you expect that to fix your problems. You see how stupid that even sounds? Yes, I know they have commercials for all types of alcoholic drinks, and woohoo, it just seems so fun, right? No, it's a life destroyer. Either if you're single or you're with somebody or trying to be with somebody, it's going to be a problem. But I'm not an alcoholic, you say. Okay, but why play with fire when you know it can cause a wildfire later, right? Why even mess with it? And you can't claim everybody has their own toxic vice. There are better vices to have, okay? Seriously. I mean, alcohol or reckless spending. The gamblers. Why are you gambling? It's another dangerous thing. If you want to spend a certain amount gambling, that's fine. But you got to be extremely responsible. If you're going to become addicted to these things, substance abuse or gambling, you can see how problematic that would be in a serious long-term committed relationship, right? I mean, it's not rocket science, people. Don't play with fire. He prefers financial display over stability. leasing a car he can't afford while real savings are hollow. Yeah, we've seen this before in the Latinos. At home, he is a benevolent dictator. Well, that's normally the females, but okay. The domestic realm is your duty. Okay, never mind. This does work both ways. His help is conditional praise. Well, love is all conditional. If you love me, then I'll love you. Because if you stop loving me, I can't love you. You see that condition? You know, once again, it's not rocket science. True love is conditional. I can't love you if you're going to become a you-know-what and sexually abuse me, right? It's conditional upon that you never become that toxic or anywhere near that toxic, right? You can't love somebody who's an abuser, right? So it's conditional based on that condition. I don't know why people scream unconditional love. That's the most laziest, nonsensical thing to say. You know, everybody has to be loving in order for love to grow, to prosper. That's just the way the world works. You can't say, well, I accept violence because, hey, that's just human nature. No, then under that condition, you'll never have a peaceful world, will you? All right, so benevolent dictator, that's, yeah, that could be the case. You know, machismo, toxic masculinity. The passionate lover becomes utilitarian. Sex becomes a scheduled release devoid of emotional connection. Yeah, so the idiots who roll over and they go to sleep after having sex, it's not making love the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, the losers. That's what a loser does, right? They just use and abuse. This is a case of using your wife like a mannequin. It really is one of the most despicable things of machismo. He confuses volume for resolution, winning arguments by outlasting you in a war of attrition. All right, so arguments can get really dramatic from either one, but in this case, the macho. He is emotionally indentured to his mother. Her opinion governs your home and parenting. Okay, usually that's on the female side, but all right. And you can see how alcohol can make those arguments dangerous and many times even deadly. Many times. It'll never end. And that's why alcohol abuse is so problematic. You think you're in control, but one day you won't be. He is a visionary of fictional futures, talking in detail about grand plans that never materialize. Yeah, don't make promises you can't keep. We've seen this before. I mean, you can try. You know, ultimately you could be a man of your word, but keep it realistic, right? Which brings us to my final verdict. I'm not particularly impressed. You know, there are good traits of good Chileans, so don't get it twisted. But does it fit for you? Those types of personalities, the good attributes? I don't know. The ball is in your court, as I say often with shows where I neither strongly favor a country and I neither strongly condemn it. There have been shows where I say, absolutely, go visit this country. Or go talk to somebody from this country. I have said it plenty of times in this series. But I've also said, no, I don't think you should even bother, but it's up to you. In this case, it's not that bad. It's somewhere in the middle. Chile sounds like a country that they're pretty chill, no pun intended. That's what I'm getting from this. You just have to avoid those extremely toxic traits because they are very bad. Those were very bad, especially on the side of the women there. I really have to stress that because you do not want that smoke, all right? So with that said, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video. Also, be sure to sign up for your free membership on my website listed down below. Best of luck on your quest for love. Much love, everybody.